A circle of dogs. We put in the work. Oh, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs.
Yeah, woo! Welcome to another episode of Giants Rush, where we talk Giants football 52 weeks of the year. Glad you guys are tuning in. I see you guys piling in the room and connecting to what we call Giants Rush. Plenty of things to talk about. Glad you guys are hanging out with us. I got the guys in the back. I'm going to pull them in a second. We are going to talk about free agent quarterbacks. We're going to talk about And don't get me wrong, there is a bunch of free agent quarterbacks. we can have your way with on who you think is going to make a difference for the Giants. We're going to be talking about stupid tweets that people have. One of Shawnee B's expertise there, because there's so many stupid things that people are saying. We're going to make a segment out of this every week just to have some fun with dumb things that people say. We're going to be talking about the brand new. You've been waiting for it. You've been whining about it, complaining about it, fretting about it, losing sleep over it. The New York Giants have inked themselves, or in the process of a contract with a new defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen from the Tennessee Titans. So we've got that going on. We're going to be talking about a little bit about Simmons to see if we want to bring Simmons back. And anything else you guys want to get into. So let's bring in the boys. Let's bring in Shawnee B. Shawnee B, what's up?
What up, Craig? How we doing, man?
I'm good, dude. I'm excited to introduce this new segment we're gonna do. We got to come up with a good name for it, but it definitely is. Some people out there, Shawnee, are saying like the dumbest things on the planet. And I always thought the Giants fan base was intelligent, right? And then the things that they say, you gotta ask yourself, like, where do these people come from?
I know, it's crazy. I'm excited about doing it, and it's kind of like in that old Family Guy, you know, what grinds my gears. So maybe we'll come up with the Rush family to help us name it. Who knows?
Yeah, without a doubt, because every week we're just gonna highlight some of these tweets and be like, okay, this is what the media's saying, this is what the people are saying. Yep. What do the rest of the world think? Because man, I have seen some dumbass things this week.
Right?
Yeah. And like I said, and I don't usually like to say that about people, but like, I got to just call a spade a spade. I'm like, the one that gets me going the most, and we'll get into it later in the show, but what gets me the most of all these folks that think the Giants are the only people that block people from getting interviewed. They're like, oh my God, what is wrong with this franchise? Wham! I'm like,
not to mention how many times would the Giants block this offseason from interviewing coaches on other teams. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you'll love what I did, Sean, for this, because I wrote down a quick short list of teams and players who have blocked other people, so we can all just work in reality. Okay.
There you go, man. There you go.
Exactly. I don't know if I can take it much more. Let's bring in Chris. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Craig. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Chris.
Well, Chris, I'm glad you're back. I don't want to be away from you too far too long. I need your perspective on what's going on here in Giant Land. But listen, we've gone through the shrine, we gone through the Senior Bowl, got a lot of good info back from that. And guys, I tweeted this out, and maybe I should tweet it out again. I see a bunch of you guys. Hang on, I got Marks here. I see Marks here. Wait, bookend tackles. That looks new. I'm not familiar with bookend tackles. Thank you very much for joining the show. Glad to have you here. I like it. It's got a good name, bookend tackles. I like it. Good. So I see you guys are coming in the room now. Look, hey, a lot of good info coming out of Senior Bowl. A lot of maneuvering around. But I wanted to start off the show, guys, with something that I think may just have changed a little bit. Senior Bowl's done, right? The consensus is that now, after the Senior Bowl, there is a separation between May, Caleb Williams, and Daniels, and that second batch, which is Penix, Nix, and McCarthy. They seem to have separated themselves a little bit, let's say wider, right? The margin is wider, right? So it's starting to think about this, guys. There's a chance that the Giants decide to sign a free agent quarterback to compete with Jones and go out and get themselves a right tackle with Joe Alt, or go out there and get themselves a wide receiver with Rome or Neighbors or whoever's there. So there's some thought that they may add, a playmaker or a big time body for the offensive line and bring in a good quarterback to compete with Jones. So what I did was, Miz is here. What's up, Miz? Good to see you, my friend. So what I went out and did, gentlemen, is this. Let's hey, Darius, what's going on, buddy? I'm going to show you guys a list of the top 30 free agent quarterbacks. There are probably 3 to 5 that have some value. I'm going to ask you to look at the list if you haven't already, and I'm going to ask you to pick one out, and I'm going to ask you why this is a good move for the Giants. Like why do you want this guy? So hang on, I'm going to put this on the screen for you, gentlemen, so you can see it. Let's see. So I need to stop the ticker from going, which is that. And then I need to go down into here. All right, gentlemen, here we go. Can you guys all see that?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to read the list off here. We got Tannehill, Brissett, Taylor, Mariota, Darnold, Winston, Locke, Mayfield, Minshew, Bridgewater, Huntley, Flacco, Dobbs, Stick, Sudfeld, Gabbert, Johnson, Wentz, Allen, number 2, Simeon, McCarron, Barkley, Rudolph, Woodside, Franks, Browning, Rourke, and Gilbert. So I'm going to ask, I'll start with you, Chris. If the Giants are going to decide to move away from drafting a quarterback. Now, listen, hey, if a quarterback falls in their lap, it may happen, right? You know, you may get the guy you want. But since these guys like Penix and McCarthy and Nix is falling fast and furious. But who on this list do you want? And I want you to sell me why he's the guy.
Mm-hmm. Gardner Minshew jumps out to me because he could put points up, and I think he moves the ball pretty well down the field. Although his turnovers, right? Didn't he throw quite a bit of interceptions, or he makes those mistakes? Jacoby Brissett, for what he did in Washington when he finally got in there for Howell, and I just think the past couple years, even going back, with Indianapolis, I feel like Jacoby is almost like a Tyrod Taylor, yet he puts more points up, doesn't get hurt. But I feel like Jacoby Brissett is like a little step up from Tyrod Taylor without the injuries and could still move the ball and get touchdowns. So I don't know. I'm going to lean to Jacoby Brissett on that list.
All right. So you're saying Brissett.
And he doesn't turn the ball over. And that's what scares me with guys like Winston and Minshew a little bit.
All right. I'm okay with that. So Brissett's 31 years old. Stepped in for Howell there at Washington. He's been he has seen some spot starting duty, right? Yep. But he's primarily a backup.
Right. And Craig, real quick, by all accounts, Baker Mayfield looks like he's going to get a contract with Tampa, so I wouldn't count on him.
Don't jump the gun yet. No, I understand. I know what you're saying. There's some of these guys on here that look like they're going to get contracts. Yeah. I wanted to know, so you're comfortable with Brissett coming in, competing with Jones, and maybe he wins the job. Maybe Jones isn't ready because of the knee. You're comfortable saying, hey, we can win games with Brissett.
I don't think he'll win the job. I think Jones is a better quarterback when it comes down to it. But I think Brissett could hold it down, till he gets back. I think Jones, the money you're paying him, he's going to play if he's healthy. It's just a matter, is he going to be ready to get out there. So I think Brissett will hold it down.
All right,
Yeah.
Shawnee B, pick one out here that you think we can get, or one that you like, or even like when push comes to shove, you think can win us games.
Yeah, so I mean, first Minshew Mania would be awesome, but Chris and I took that. I'm not leaning him, but two names I was kind of looking between is Huntley and Browning, and they're going to be not names that people may throw out a lot, but I'm going to lean Browning just because of what he did coming in with that Bengals. Didn't have a great O-line there. Came in, guys just composed, throws a nice ball, made some really good throws. He was a backup there, but he came in and he did some really good things I watched a few of those games too. So I'm gonna say Browning. I think he did well in college too. Like the kid, he's got. I love the composure, man. That's what I like about him. So I'm gonna throw an unusual name. I'm gonna go Jake Browning.
Wow, I like that too. So okay, so Browning, a lot younger than Brissett. He did, let's see, what did he wind up starting this year? 10 games?
Browning, you said, or Brissett?
Browning.
Browning, yeah, it was a lot because Burrow went out early, and again, Cincinnati was a mess this year. They were just from day one, they were a mess. So he did pretty well. He's inconsistent, but again, he was a backup for however long came in. So I think it was about 10 games he started.
I like the fact that he's younger, right? He's 27 years old, so he's got probably a little bit more of a live arm, so to speak, right? He doesn't have all the miles on it, but most of these guys haven't thrown a ton of balls either, right? Most of these guys are pretty healthy, when it comes to being a QB. I got to tell you guys, I like both picks. I will say that, Minshew just has consistently been a guy you can't keep down, right? And because he bets on himself. He goes in there wherever team needs him, kind of like Fitzmagic used to do, right? Minshew goes in there. He's still pretty young at 27 years old, and he's proven to you he can win games. You saw him in the Pro Bowl or whatever you want to call it, the Pro Bowl games this weekend. Like, he's got a good personality. The guys seem to like him. I could see, like, I hear what you're saying, Chris, that like Jones is the guy because we paid him, right?
Well, sorry, Craig, not just for that, but just he is, he has his deficiencies, but they gave him that contract to play. And if you were to put Brissett and or one of these quarterbacks on here, to compete against Jones, I think he would compete. Whether he'd play better in a game, I don't know. But I think I think he's a better quarterback than a lot of these guys on here. So that was really my point.
Well, I agree with you. Jones is a better quarterback than most of these guys. But I will say this. We're not winning games with Jones, right? We're just not like we've given him all the chance possible. He's not winning games. Like I'm telling you right now that I've seen Gardner Minshew win games. Jones has not proven to win games. I like Jones. Well, I should say I don't love Jones. I don't hate Jones, right? But over the years, I keep giving the guy the opportunity. And yes, we paid him. And it makes sense, why we paid him, because he came off a playoff win and it was easier to pay him than going out and finding a guy, right? But here we are. So one is Mayfield is probably the best quarterback on this list, and Baker's going to get a deal from Tampa. They'd be stupid to let him go, right? Josh Dobbs, did wonders, right? When they traded him, from Arizona to Minnesota, and then he kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
Right. So there could be a little something with Dobbs if Dobbs came in, and actually had a full season to learn an offense, right? But I got to tell you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Craig.
No, go ahead. What's that, Shawnee?
He did well in Arizona. Minnesota was tough because he didn't even get a chance to learn the playbook and came in and did that. So, there's a few guys on this list to go with, but you made us choose one. So,
yeah, no. Yeah. Otherwise we'd be here all night, like going through backup quarterbacks. So I would, me personally, I think Tannehill could do the job because he's poised, you know what I mean? But I just don't think, he can move around enough now at 35, 36 years old. I don't think he's the guy. There's something to me about Minshew that he's got this chip on his shoulder. If he got a 2-year deal to come in here and play for the Giants, like, not only do I think he would push Jones, there's a chance he beats out Jones. I mean, I really do think that. Like, Minshew's not afraid. He's not in his head, and he wants to throw the ball down the field. He's not afraid to throw the ball down the field. I mean, we've got an issue with throwing the ball down the field.
Hey, Craig and Sean, this year is going to be maybe the best year in terms of backups getting paid. We saw a weekend, I think, where there was 5 or 6 backups starting. So I think, to Sean's point with Jake Browning, he might be a great value deal because when you throw out these names like a Winston or a Minshew, those guys might be commanding such a big salary because I think this year the backups are gonna hit pay dirt because we saw last year how many starting quarterbacks were hurt.
I'm with you. I personally, just me, I can't go Brissett. I can't do it. I can't find myself to do it. Like, there's nothing to me that says that guy's got dog in him. Like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? So I think I would first, out of the gate, I would go Minshew 1. I'd probably go Browning 2 and then maybe Dobbs 3. Those are the 3 guys that, I mean, of course, Baker being 1, but, again, Tampa would be silly to let him go. So those are the guys that jump out at me. Everyone else here is just a stopgap. Like, I literally think that if the Giants don't draft a quarterback or they want to groom a guy, I think Minshew could be the guy too. I think Minshew could help groom a guy.
But there's been a lot of years Minshew hasn't started, right? I mean, he's been in the league a while now, and he still hasn't gotten a starting job somewhere. So I look at this list as a stopgap. Whether it's Jones or whoever we draft, whoever's in is the backup. To me, I don't know what you guys feel. I think anybody on this list is really a stopgap till that quarterback is ready that you draft.
Except for Baker.
Except for Baker, which like you said, Tampa Bay's pretty much they're gonna lock them up before the new league year, I would think.
But here's the thing, Chris. Like, I could honestly see Jake Browning start for 3 years. You know what I mean? If you didn't have a guy.
That's an interesting call, though, Sean, because you don't know what his ceiling is. I mean, he came right in there and looked like a veteran. So maybe, you know what, Sean, you might be onto something. Maybe the Giants should just take a flyer on him regardless. And who knows? Maybe you do catch some lightning in a bottle with him, and he could be a long-term guy. It was impressive.
Yeah. I mean, again, and his O-line wasn't great. So we don't know what the Giants' O-line is going to be. So he's kind of used to that. And he was composed. Again, I did see a lot of composure. I mean, he's got room to grow and get better, but if you get him under, Daboll and Kafka and Tierney, who knows who's to say what they can bring him into,
Interesting. I like it.
So it's I've been thinking about that for a while, actually.
So in the let me pull this back down. In the comments, we got a ton of comments. People are cranking some stuff. Let me just get this off the screen here. All right, so look, a couple things that our guys are saying in the background, like, Mark is definitely, a pro Jones. And my philosophy is, like, I don't know how much more time I can give Daniel Jones to do something. I think at this point, and again, I want to like Jones, but I feel like the bigger issue with Jones is, and I don't know why my screen is so dark, is that, like, we trust him, we want him, we give him the ball, it doesn't work. And don't get me wrong, in 2022, he played great, but he still didn't blow the ceiling off the house, right? Like, he still was like, man, what a great year for Daniel Jones. Like, it wasn't like, what a great quarterback year. It was what a great year for Daniel Jones. And now I'm at the point where we're caught in a rock and a hard place, right? And if I have a guy like Browning, he's young enough to be a starter for 2-3 years. Maybe you catch lightning in the bottle, right? I could take a guy like Minshew. You're right. He hasn't started, Chris, in a lot of places, but he's taken over the starting job in I think, on 2 different franchises. Like, I don't know if it's Jacksonville and the Eagles. I'm trying to think what it was. I mean, he does play. He's a good look. They voted him in the Pro Bowl because people like the way he plays. He's popular, you know what I mean? And he doesn't mind throwing the ball down the field. Now, again, you were just saying turnovers, right? But listen, Jones doesn't have him throw any turnovers because he doesn't throw the ball down the field. You know what I mean? Like, so of course he looks great. Like, we're at the point where we need to graduate
Mm-hmm.
So our choice is this. We can get a quarterback and roll the dice. We don't know is any good and still have no playmakers. We need the first round and the second round to be A-type playmakers. And that's going to be either trading back in the first round or getting that tackle, that wide receiver. Like, we need to improve the team.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Good.
I would say when you talk about playmakers there, you can get a quarterback in the first round if they fall off the way things like, and you get that there's a lot of wide receiver depth in this draft, right? So you can get a quality wide receiver in that second round. They got 2 second-round picks. So there's a lot of flexibility they have to be able to get playmakers. So I agree with you. We need playmakers. And I know Mark put in there that he wants us to draft. We want to draft a quarterback, but we're talking about if they don't. So, like, this is what we're covering here. But yeah, I think they can get their quarterback in this draft, and there's guys moving up, and I think they can get the playmakers. They got the room to make it work. So I agree. They got to have playmakers, but you can get that receiver in that second round if you don't get it at 6. If there's a quarterback, you can get a 6 or vice versa.
Hands down. This is all about being strategic, right? It's like, if I don't get one of the top 3, well, then give me the tackle, right? Or give me the wide receiver. If we don't want to go that, let me trade out of the first round. You know what I mean? And then come back in. We're just talking about if we don't draft that quarterback. Like, you can't go into the season with Jones and Bo Nix. Like, you can't go into the season with Jones and JJ McCarthy. Like, because a couple of these guys, like, and I like JJ McCarthy, but I think he's going to need time to sit and learn from someone. Jones may not even be ready. Browning could step right in and play. Minshew could step right in and play. And who knows? Maybe you catch some lightning in the bottle, right? Anyway, well, I'm glad you guys picked out who you picked out, because that was my short list too. I got to tell you, I was spot on who I was thinking. Dobbs was like a late kind of add-on for me, but the guy really didn't have a lot of chance to learn an offense. I feel bad for the guy, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, in case you're popping in late, I see a lot of you guys. I see Josh, I see Darius, I see Mark, I see a lot of you guys piling Tutos in the house, of course. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We need you guys to tell your friends about the YouTube channel. All right. I hit this like stagnant wall. We need some subscribers. Just go out there, bang, hit the button, subscribe, so we can keep cranking out good content for you guys. Working on some new interviews. It's not easy, so I'm working on those. Those are in the pipeline. We're working on Patricia Trainer. We're working on Paulie D. He's always really good to us. I've been working on Gano for a while, so I got a little bit of traction. Not much, but I'm trying there. So let you guys know that we're out there. I tell you, we tell you what the players tell us. So if we get these interviews, you guys can hear it from the horse's mouth. All right, guys, let's put a bow on this and move over to, the big news of today. The Giants lock it in. And, I mean, unless something happens at the last moment, like what happened with, what's his name? Good old Cliff moving from the Raiders to the Redskins.
Yeah.
Sanders. The Giants have signed Shane Bowen from the Tennessee Titans. Wrote down some stats for you gentlemen. And again, you folks kill me. On Twitter already, you guys are complaining about who this cat is. All right? Like, he doesn't – I'm sure he doesn't even have a confirmed contract yet. And you're like, oh, what a downgrade from Wink. Guys, just educate yourself, okay? I'm going to read you some information on Shane Bowen, okay? The guy was at Ohio State. He's been at the Titans since 2020, okay? Came in with Vrabel. Let me just ramble off some stats for you so you guys can sleep tonight, okay? Red zone defense. Start over with the heavy hitter. Number 1. Red zone defense, only 37.7% of the time giving up a touchdown. Number 1, rushing yardage given up, 5. Rushing TDs given up, 4th. Sacks, 16th. Third down conversions, 18th. Touchdowns per game, 3rd. Yards per game, 18th. I don't know about you guys. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I definitely had a lot of concussions in college. I'm pretty sure that every stat I just read you is better than what we've had. Sean, is this not better than what we had last year with Wink Martindale?
Yeah, absolutely. The only difference in what people is just because he wasn't a big name or they thought he was like the third option to go to. But one of the things is they wanted to interview him before and they were blocked for interviewing him. So he was in their plans early on. So, and yeah, he's absolutely better than what we had last year, but you know, he doesn't blitz a lot. He doesn't whatever. He's not the flashy name. What I like is he's learned under two really good defensive minded coaches, Dean Pease and Vrabel, right? He's 37 years old. He's young and hungry. He's not going to bring any drama. And he coached under Vrabel, who coached under Belichick. So, you know, they know how to talk to each other in a way that, you know, is not always nice. So he'll be fine with that. Right. So I like it. I like it. You know, I mentioned on the last time I was on that Wilson was the guy that I wanted, but after you do some research, man, he's done some good stuff and he's learned under some good people, you know? So.
Chris, you had a good point about a linebacker coach you wanted to make.
Yeah, so Ryan Crow is not going to be retained from when Vrabel was there. He's the linebacker coach, been there for a few years. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, to get that scheme down. I know Bowen ran kind of a 4-3. Obviously I would think he's flexible in both, and the Giants personnel, as you guys probably hopefully agree, they're more of a 3-4. But maybe a guy like Ryan Crow, keep an eye on, because he would be a linebacker coach that's out there who's worked under Bowen, who would probably, you know, create, you know, good chemistry right off the bat with the guy he's already worked with. So keep an eye on Ryan Crow to come over as the linebacker coach.
I'm excited for it. I mean, like, you know, again, I'm excited. Again, everything I just read you guys said, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Tennessee Titans don't even have a star on defense. I mean, like, they've got average talent over there. They don't have Dexter Lawrence. They don't have Tay Banks. They don't have McKinney. They definitely don't have Okereke or McFadden. Like, this guy's probably licking his chops going, whoa, are you offering me a job with defensive players? Heck yeah, I'm coming. Right?
Yeah, their back seven was not strong compared to the Giants. I mean, they had Simmons up front, who is Dexter like he's a monster. They did do a 3-4 there in Tennessee, so he is a 3-4 guy. But yeah, they're back, and they traded away some good secondary guys in the past. So he did a lot with a little, and their edge rushers weren't great, and he got numbers out of them. So imagine the numbers he's going to get, and I'm sure that factored in. The other thing I think factored in is they're going to keep the staff already on board. So that continuity is going to be there. So you keep Henderson, you keep Patterson, which everybody loves. So I'm sure that factored into the thinking as well. So, I mean, you got to see what he's going to do, but I don't think it's a bad hire by any stretch. There's room for optimism in my opinion.
Yeah, like I try not to slap labels on people, but the casuals are out there in full force. So we're here to educate you guys. All right, tell your friends. Okay, pass it on. That, like, this is a good hire. All right, like, I know some of you guys wanted Daly, right, from the Chiefs. I understand why. And by the way, I was leaning on Daly for one reason and one reason only, because he coaches under Spags.
That's it.
Like, you know what I mean? That was it. I don't know anything about Daly. I didn't look up his stats. I don't care. If he learned, I mean, Spagnuolo is probably going to go down as one of the best defensive coordinators to play in the modern day era. The guy is going to wind up with 6 Super Bowl rings. I mean, I'm sorry. And it is what it is. And here's the thing about Spags, you know, is that you don't always have to have a number 1 rated defense to win, right? It's a bend, don't break. And you know, so, you know, that's the reason why I want him. Now, Bowen reminds me a little bit of a young Spags, because he's turning average players or not a lot of stars into good football players. He's maximizing the talent that he has. And that's a good sign of a great coordinator. Now, Chris, you mentioned about him being the 3-4 guy.
Is that right? He is a 3-4 guy.
4-3 guy.
Is he 4-3 or I thought he was
Yeah.
4-3.
He's 3-4.
Well, yeah.
He is 3-4. Okay, my bad.
No,
Okay.
And Craig, let me stop you guys right there. I don't know if the Giants could afford him, but it would be great to have a piece from that old system that he was running, that scheme. Danico Autry is a free agent defensive end, had 11.5 sacks.
Let's
So
do
bring a
it,
guy.
right?
We need an edge guy, right? So
They got a corner too as a free agent, Fulton, and I think he'd be
Oh,
a
yeah.
better option than Autry. Played
Okay.
at LSU. Be a nice cornerback too to go with Banks and then Flott in the slot. So
Yep. And it just kind of makes a whole lot of sense, right? Because you're like, okay, this guy is getting a lot out of his players. I can only imagine what he's going to get out of Thibodeau, because we all agree that Wink didn't get enough out of Thibodeau. We just, it ain't pay. And I know me and Mark Thompson have gone round and round about him wrecking games. Like, hey, look, I like Thibodeau, but he can't afford to disappear, to make this team great. And I got a really good feeling about, Bowen being the guy to, take him out of this pass coverage and letting him just do his thing. Right. So it's a really good place to be. I really like the hire, guys.
And two other quick points I'll put in, but is he got a lot out of Autry, who didn't have a lot of talent. I think he had 11 sacks last year, if I remember.
Yep.
So imagine teaching that. And the other thing I read about him is he's a teacher, and so I'm sure that factored in a lot. He's a teacher, and that's what Dave's want, and that's why he can develop the guys that he has. So
love it. That's why you get paid the big bucks, Shawnee B. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Sean was a free agent. We had to grab him. You had to open up the wallet, Craig. See?
Honestly, he told me he would pay me to come on this show. So
he was going to pay you for you not to call him anymore. Leave me alone, Craig. I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Probably a lot of truth to that too. I'm like, come on. Then again, hey,
Sean, on the flip side, I'm like, Craig, when can I start? No, not till next week. Craig, no, really? Can I start now?
Oh man, Craig calling again. Oh look, Craig calling again.
You know what? These are guys I consider my friends. All right, so interesting enough, really easy transition here. Ready? Shoo! Watch this. So there is some really dumb people in the world, or I should even say smart people who say dumb things. I consider myself one of those people. So I say a lot of dumb things. But what I don't do is I don't say something before I actually look it up. Okay? I still may say something dumb, but at least I've taken the time to look something up. So when I ask a question, it doesn't look like I live under a rock. So this section of the show, as Shawnee was saying, we could call it, we're going to ask you guys to name it. We want to have a new segment where we're going to talk about dumb things that people say. And this week, I have heard the dumbest things I have heard from media personalities and the Twitter GMs of the world. Hey, look, I'm a Twitter GM, I guess, right? But again, I'm fortunate to have played the game and covered the game. So I try not to be completely off the rails. Give you an example. Someone says to me this week, Dan Quinn is the worst coach ever. He can't coach his way out of a paper bag. Wow, Washington is terrible. Like, how was that remotely even close to being accurate? This guy in college was runner-up for assistant coach of the year. This guy comes to Seattle and builds the Legion of Boom defense. Okay. This guy goes to Atlanta, who is a crap franchise, and gets him to the Super Bowl. Dan Quinn didn't lose the Super Bowl. His players lost the Super Bowl. Okay. Players play, coaches coach. At some point, listen to any round table with players. They're like, at the end of the day, we got to make plays. Dan Quinn goes to Dallas and he makes the Dallas defense so good it thumps up 80-12. I mean, the guy knows how to coach defense. So People are just out there with these crazy things. Like, it's the body of work. Someone said Bill Belichick is a terrible coach and rode the coattails of Tom Brady. Now, people, Tom Brady could not start at Michigan. He had to split time with Drew Henson. Drew Henson wound up being a baseball player for the Yankees. Who do you think groomed Tom Brady? Who do you think made Tom Brady? Like, Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady. This guy basically molded him into what he was. They worked well together. Yes, it's hard to win without a franchise quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people are nuts. So, Sean.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to read these to you.
All right.
Because there's some doozies in here.
Yeah. And now the Rush family is going to see just how opinionated I am.
Yeah. Because like I think maybe it's just a lot of good drugs going around or something. All right. So let's start off with this one. And by the way, Sean, Chris and I were talking about this during the week. Like, all these people are panicking that like nobody wants to work for Dable. Why are we blocking? Who's blocking? Oh, the Giants are a poverty franchise because they're blocking coaches. I'm like, I'm scrolling through the text so I can find it. So I did the research on blocking coaches, right? Because Sean and I were talking about blocking coaches. The Chargers blocked Kellen Moore from getting a new job. The Falcons blocked all three coaches. Ryan Nielsen, the Jags wanted him for their DC, and the Giants wanted Marquise Williams and Dwayne Ledford for an offensive line coach. 2 blocks. Falcons blocked 1 Jaguar, 2 Giants.
Yep.
The Pats blocked Nick Caley from the Raiders a couple of years ago. Here's the best one yet. In 2012, Tampa blocked 12 coaches from interviewing. 12 coaches. The Chiefs, how about this? Bieniemy. Ready for this one? A lot of people don't know about this. Why was Bieniemy still on the staff after Rivera got fired? Do either one of you know?
No.
Well, they had to wait for Kingsbury to commit, right?
Nope.
Go ahead.
Bieniemy was still on the staff because Andy Reid tried to hire him as a playoff coach.
Wow.
And they blocked.
All right.
Wow. Interesting.
So what they did was what do you call it? The Commanders blocked the interview of Bieniemy because Reid was like, hey, let's do a short-term splash. Let's bring in a guy who knows the system to ensure us a Super Bowl win.
Mm-hmm.
And the Commanders shut it down and blocked Reid from bringing back Bieniemy. So Bieniemy was on the staff, still under contract when Kingsbury signed, because it all happened at one time.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Otherwise, he would already have been let go. But if they let him go, Reid was going to hire him.
That's terrible.
Yep. So we got to get off this wagon on the Giants are a poverty franchise and they're blocking people for all the wrong reasons. All right, I'm almost there. Okay. So you sent me about Rattler. Wait a minute, Chris, Shawnee, did you? I see the why am I not finding it? Is it before the DC stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you. I know the one that leads into that. We talk is
go ahead, run with it. Go.
The comment about, I think it was Pat Leonard who put something out about like the mass exodus and like the perception of why they didn't let Kafka interview with the Seahawks. Let me say this. Number one, the Giants fired 2 coaches that were not good. Not good. T-Mac was not good anymore. We all agree on that. Bobby Johnson was horrible, horrible. So people are upset over that they're leaving. Wink, we know what happened there, all of that stuff, right? They brought in 3 quality coaches, in my opinion, the special teams coach, the O-line coach, and the running coach, right? So people are coming here. So we're getting rid of people who don't belong, who led us to an awful, awful thing. It's not a mass exodus. It's not perception. Like, man, we're bringing in good coaches. What is wrong with people? And again, it's coaches talk this way to each other. This is how they talk. The only reason the fans know about it now is because Wink and his guys leaked it to the media, right?
Yep.
Mike Tomlin fired his coordinator in season, mid-season. Sean McDermott fired his offensive coordinator mid-season. Why are they not freaking out about that?
The Bills fired Ken Dorsey in the middle of the season.
That's what I'm saying, right? Dave's is an a-hole, according to people. So, oh no, nobody wants to coach with him because he yells at coaches. He's mean. Stop it. Stop it. Good coaches are coming in. People want to be there. There's no mass exodus. The Kafka thing, let it go. Let it go, people. Just let it go.
And Sean, arguably 2 of our best coaches on the staff, Andre Patterson and Jerome Henderson, hey, those guys could go somewhere if they wanted to, if they wanted out. But you know what? They're remaining too. I haven't heard a peep out of them that they want out.
Exactly.
And the guys that left are getting promotions. They're getting better opportunities for their family.
Yeah, Giants fans just aren't used to Giants coaches in the last several years being wanted by other organizations. That's what it comes down to. Like, there hasn't been, right? Yeah. And then the other guys that left, T-Mac has not gotten interviewed for any position yet. And Wink only had 1, and that was with the Eagles. And I'm pretty sure I know why that happened with the Eagles. So what does that tell you right there? Like, come on. No craziness.
As Sean would say, that grinds my gears.
Man.
I mean, it is. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what you folks out there, I see a bunch of you guys out there, bookend tackles. I mentioned that. Yes. The Falcons blocked Ryan Nelson from the Jags and Marquise Williams and Dwayne Ledford from the from us, which was the O-line coach and the special teams coach. So, yeah.
And the other thing too, Craig, is that they were ranked the 8th best organization to work for. And part of the reasoning for that was Daboll's relationship with the players and the staff, the training staff or the staff in the building or whatever. So how he does with coaches, who gives a flying F, right? Like, come on. Enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah. I'm just so sick of the nonstop garbage and narrative of it. Like, why do we have to be a mob mentality and everybody jumps on the bandwagon? Like, the guy was coach. I mean, look, why can't we just work with facts? The guy was coach of the year in 2022. Okay. He took your poverty franchise, which absolutely means nothing. It's some kind of cool word you guys made up, right? Like, yes, we haven't won in a while. I get it. Okay. There are 12 teams that have never won a Super Bowl ever. Okay. Those are poverty franchises. All right. Now, we win in 2022. In 2023, the quarterback can't play and gets hurt. The O-line can't block, and and your backup is hurt again. You're on your 3rd string QB. You managed to win 6 games. They play hard down the stretch. And 4 plays, again, I know, don't kill me. I understand this. I'm not dumb. But 4 plays made a difference of having 8 wins. Okay? The Jets and the Bills game. 2 plays different. 2 first downs, a field goal. You are an 8-win team. Like, we have holes. But the coaching brought in guys like McLeod to play corner when Tay Banks went down, and the kid did fantastic. The coaching staff saw what McFadden could do, and the guy doubled his output from the year before.
Jason Pinnock.
Yep.
Pinnock, was a starter, and the guy played fantastic. Like, you guys just only want to focus on Jones, and Jones ruins everything. Okay, it didn't work out. And in the Barkley thing, you know what I mean? Like you guys are just so fixated on some crazy stuff,
right? And
then we let guys like Pat Leonard. A couple of you guys call him, Pat the Rat. I don't understand. Like, I don't want to dislike the guy. I just don't understand the narrative. Why are we shitting on our franchise at every chance we get? We don't have to be happy about it. But look, guys, 4 plays and the team's 8-8. Didn't happen. We're 6-10. Playing the 3rd string quarterback, the 3rd string right tackle with a receiver that doesn't have over 750 yards, a running back who missed 3 games, a center who missed 3 games. I mean, I just, let's be positive and go, you know what? The team will make a significant increase in talent in 24. 25 is your year. That's just what it is, guys. 25, you should be expected to have enough firepower to go for it.
Yep.
What else we got, Sean? That was really dumb this week. We got any other ones?
Yeah, that Wilson chose the Titans because he didn't want to work with Dable. When he had a previous relationship with Rand Carthen, who's a GM, he had a previous relationship with the cornerback coach that's already there. So why would you – I don't understand why people don't get that relationships matter. Like, you see people freak out, oh, here we go, we brought in another Bills coach, or hey, we brought in – every coach, every organization does it. It's about relationships, about understanding who you work with, how they operate, what you can expect from them, like their work ethic. All of that matters. So, of course, he's going to choose the opportunity to go work with a GM he already knows. All right. He knows a cornerback coach is going to be working under him. Like, what? It's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. There's coaches that choose other things out there, like other opportunities. It's not just the damn Giants.
Yep. And you know what, Shoney? I said this last week. It's called a coaching tree, and it's called a coaching tree for a reason. Mike Holmgren had it. Belichick has it. Whether they become great or not, they still want to work with guys that know how they operate, right? So when Dable's flipping out, they just go, that's just Dave's. Yep. He rolled the dice on a guy from Baltimore and a guy from Kansas City who didn't know him. Mm-hmm. Now, Dable is blocking people. He wants Kafka to return. And Chris, you tweeted it out, I think, earlier in the week. He wants to give him a chance to grow and hit it, right?
Does.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was me, but yeah, he does.
I thought you mentioned something about Kafka coming back for a 3rd year. I
want to be honest, I don't know. So many tweets. But yeah, that's a great point. If it was me or somebody else, it is true. Yeah. I mean, let's see with all hands on deck what Kafka can do.
Yeah, and he's only called plays for 2 years. People forget that. Like, he didn't come as an OC. He was a quarterback's coach. He never called plays before.
Right.
And Dable can see – they cannot be in line, but Dable can see potential in Kafka. Like, he may not be calling the offense the way he wants it, but he can see the guy has potential, and he can create offense. He can design plays. Some guys are better at doing that than they are calling plays. So he maybe doesn't want to lose them for that reason. Who knows? And who cares, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not.
And when Kafka was a quarterback with Philly, I mean, he was groomed by Andy Reid. I mean, what better, right? Quarterback with the Eagles, coach with Andy Reid, goes to Kansas City. Then you bring the Dable concepts, you mesh them together. I mean, this should be some explosiveness we're seeing, which we're not. But I mean, you could see what they probably want to do.
Yeah, and if that article never came out, because listen, the Giants fan base on Twitter, they get hooked in with all of that negative crap that goes out there. If nobody knew about that, this wouldn't be a big issue. Oh, Dable yells at people. You wouldn't have known about it otherwise. Oh, he took play calling away. You think he's the only head coach to ever take play calling away from his OC during a game multiple times? Like, come on. I mean, literally, Mike Tomlin took his OC from the booth down to the field in midseason, changed it up and said, you're going to come down the field, you're going to call plays from here. And that still didn't make a difference, so he got rid of him. Like, come on.
Listen, I said this earlier in the season, Shawnee, that Ken Dorsey was McDermott's guy, right? And they couldn't get their way out of a paper bag. And the minute they fired Dorsey, they were scoring 34 points a game.
Yeah.
And Dorsey got a job today, and he got a job.
Yeah, Dorsey's if you weren't aligned with the coach's philosophy, McDermott wanted to run the ball more. Dorsey wasn't running enough. Dorsey put up great numbers. They were statistically top of the league when Dorsey was there. He just wasn't running the ball enough, and that's what McDermott wanted. So he brought in Brady, who ran the ball more, and that's when they took off. So if you're not in line philosophically with the head coach, then it's not a good match. It's not because Daboll is an a-hole and he yells at coaches. I mean, Kafka, have there been anything leaked one time where Kafka said, I want out? People are just assuming he wants out. Mm-hmm. He got interviewed for head coaching positions. That's a promotion. Seattle wanted to interview him, not saying Kafka wanted to interview for the OC. Like, come on. Seriously.
On top of that, guys, that's how you get the experience, for the next time. So next year, when he's interviewing for a job, he's going to go, well, I've interviewed for 3 head coaching jobs, and I was the head coach of the Shrine Bowl. I get this. I'm not new at this. You know what I mean? Like, it just, again, people are just off the rails and uneducated. And look, let's throw this up here just for giggles here. Mark Thompson's right on. How many interviews has Wink had? That would be 0. Like, it's just, it is what it is, guys. Like, Daboll is a good coach. Yeah, he's going to work some kinks out of his game plan. Do we forget they almost ran Tom Coughlin out of town? Mm-hmm. Okay. I clearly remember them where Coughlin said, you know what? I got to change. And he made the players council. And he came in and he took one player from every position group. And he said, what do you think, Shockey? What do you think, Chris Snee? What do you think, Kavika Mitchell? What do you think? And so on. Like, and those guys all felt like their voice mattered. Tom all of a sudden became a different head coach. You start winning a lot of games.
Yeah, and Coughlin was hard on the players, not the coaches. Daboll's hard on the coaches, not the players. And if you're a head coach, that's what you want. You expect greatness out of your coaches. And I'll say this, how many times in the past have we been upset when coaching changes haven't been made? They waited too long. They held on to guys. Daboll saw this season and he made changes right away, including getting rid of his close friend. Mm-hmm. So to me, that speaks volumes of, hey, he recognized the problem. He made changes. He brought in people to fix it. And let's go. Like, let's see what he can do. But because he yells at people, come on. Yeah.
I mean, so, I just want everybody to just like, and we're going to do this each week. We're going to pull out a bunch of dumb things that people say because it never ends. I mean, literally it never, ever ends. Someone said this week, Kafka's, it's good that he's in the booth. I think, Sean, you responded, and we were saying how many great play callers call from the sideline. Like, it doesn't work for everybody, but it's not. If Kafka's on the sideline calling plays, having a feel of the game, it could be effective. You can't rule out that it might not be effective. How many great play callers call the plays from the sideline?
And there's still coaches in the booth giving you the looks. They're telling you what's going on. They're sending video on the iPad. I mean, really, you're getting the information.
Exactly. It's not like 20 years ago where you couldn't have the information. You had to be in the booth.
Like, yeah, and they're printing out a black and white photo on the sideline.
Right. It's sometimes, and I think that's where Kafka loses. I think that's where Daboll gets frustrated with Kafka is he doesn't have a feel of the game. Like, his play selection doesn't make sense. My issue is his scripted plays. Every team scripts the first 15 to 25 plays. I don't think they come out with a good scripted play set. So those are 2 things where I think, go ahead.
So here's an example of what we're talking about. Mark Thompson says, can you yell at Chris and Shawnee? I want to see their reaction. All right. So let me break this down for you. For one this is not a high level competitive, win or lose, make it or break it environment, for one, right? 2, I'm not paying them $1 million to $5 million a year. If Sean or Chris couldn't bring the heat, Mark, and I was paying them $2-3 million a year, you'd bet your ass that I would be so far up I could look at Mark's Shorty's beard from the inside. But because I'm not paying that kind of money and I respect them as friends, we can civilly go about this differently. Also, it's not my style. I'm not a yeller. I get angry. I'm one of these guys, Mark. I forgive everybody. I never forget, though. I never forget. So 10 years from now, if you're on the side of the road and no one's around, I may run you over. But I'm not a yeller.
And number 3, I'm not going to get upset if you do yell at me, and I'm going to realize that you're running the show. So I'm going to, at the end of the day, I'm going to listen to what you say, but you're going to hear from me as well. And that's what coaches do. You know, the coaches yell back. Come on. Yeah.
Listen, we all have disagreements. Like there's a respect factor that comes into it, right? Especially like the more you know someone, you're like, that's Santucci. He's just manic and crazy. You know what I mean? Or you're like, that's just Chris. He's always calm. He's always flexing his guns. Come on. Like, I mean, it is like, see, I can bust Chris's stones about how big his arms are. He doesn't get mad. He just shakes it off like this.
Yeah. It's not personal when you yell. If you know what's going on, it's not taken personally. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Exactly. So now I'm going to yell at them. Okay. Guys, let's cruise over another topic really fast because we're kind of wrapping things up here. And that's about last week we did the Rush Rumble with Barkley and McKinney. That was a ton of fun. A lot of people really got into that. I was actually very surprised that Barkley won the Rumble overall, and I know money had a lot to do with it. Yes, Darius, I'm putting this up here because I love this, what Darius just said. At the end of the day, we're still family, right? I think so. Darius, you have the quote of the day. Yeah, man. Nice. Look, I don't know. Life is short. You meet people along the way. Like, listen, 2 years ago, I didn't even know Chris. Mm-hmm. I consider Chris, like, I'll tell you what was awesome, Darius, and I know I'm getting off topic. Summertime, I'm home, I don't know, working in the yard, doing something. I get a text and a picture of my son who's down the shore with his friends in an arcade, and there's Chris, hugging up, standing next to my son, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, not only like my son doesn't really know Chris, but Chris doesn't know my son. He took the time to say, like, hey, man, like, just, make a connection, right? Like, hey, this is Craig's son kind of thing. Like, and you learn whether we all agree or we don't agree, we want to win. We support the team, brings a lot of joy and pain at the same time. That's what makes us Giants fans. And it is a big family. I always say the Rush family. You hear me say it all the time. I consider all you guys as supporters part of the Rush family. I just don't want to be so negative. And trust me, I can be a pessimist too. Okay, I can. Trust me. Ask me the things I used to say during the whole Danny Cannell, Jesse Palmer days. All right, it was bad. All right. So, but Darius, I appreciate you saying it, guys.
It's good.
Tell me about Chris. Tell me about Simmons.
What
do you want him to stay or go?
With Shane Bowen coming in and what his plans are, I'm not sure. I would like him to say if the price was right. I think before this year, he was due $12 million, which obviously that's been eaten up and he's a free agent now. I don't know what you'd pay him, but I like his athleticism. I just don't think he's an everyday linebacker. He's not the best tackler. But I tell you, rushing the passer, which what we need, find a place for him as a situational pass rusher if the price is right. Yes.
Were you happy with what he did this year, or were you a little disappointed with the way Wink used him?
In the beginning, I wasn't happy. You didn't see too much of him, but I think the more he was adjusted and the more he was situational, I thought he rushed the passer pretty well, coming off the edge by himself, untouched. But you can see the athleticism. I just don't think he's that linebacker that you're going to see taking on blocks and shedding and making a lot of tackles in traffic. He's that open space type of athlete or linebacker or edge rusher where, hey, it's third down, pin your ears back, get him off the edge with the speed and athleticism, get to the quarterback and drop him back. Great interception, right? At the end of the season. Was that the Eagle game? He had the pick six?
Yeah, I think so. There you go.
First Eagles game.
Right?
He had the Commanders. He had the pick six against
the Commander. Okay, that's what it was.
It was Washington and first Washington game, I think it was.
Okay. So, I mean, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him back just for that situational role. Once again, I don't know if you're going to see him for, every down, but the athleticism, Showed.
Mark Thompson, as always, has a great point that he did play some safety in Arizona. That if McKinney goes, maybe play again. He's a little big to play full-time safety, but then again, after I just watched Hamilton from the Ravens running around like a nut, you're like, well, I don't know, maybe he can do it because Hamilton's a big dude.
Yeah, and those 3 safety looks, you could bring him down in the box.
Yep. I bet but I'm saying he could run like a deer. I bet the dude can cover people too. I'd like him see him sacking the quarterback, but yeah, I think Bowen's going to like it.
I would love to be a fly on the wall, as they say, and get Bowen's, opinion on what he thinks of him and what he could do with him. So we're getting a whole different perspective now with the new coordinator.
Tell me, Shawnee, what's your thoughts? And if you do want him back, what kind of deal are you willing? We only got 22 on the cap, 22, 23. What do you see him? What's his value?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to command a lot. I mean, he doesn't have the numbers to back it up to command a lot. So I think you can get him on a reasonable deal. And I would like to see him back. I think he brings a lot of dimensions. I think that he can cover, which he's shown. He can get after the quarterback. He's just got to be used the right way. And, one of the things is he just didn't know Wink's system's tough to learn. So you come in as late as you do. That's why he was slow early on, but at the end of the year, he came on. You could see things. How many years in a row now we said we don't have linebackers that can cover a tight end or cover somebody over the middle, right? Like he can do that. You can use him on situational blitzing. Like there's a lot of, he's a jackknife. He's not that master, jack of all trades, master of none. Like he's really good and he's fast. So like I would like to see him because at the end of the day, they got to keep talent. Like you got to keep talent. So I'm all for bringing him back. I'm all for bringing him back. I like him. I wanted to draft him when he was coming out of college. He was the guy that I wanted the Giants to pick. So I'm excited to see him here.
I gotta be honest. Where my I was really disappointed with him when he got here. I was like, this dude doesn't do anything, right? And then you start looking at the bigger picture that Okereke struggled in the beginning, McKinney struggled in the beginning, like whatever it was. And the interesting thing is, so you got 3 dynamic players, McKinney, Okereke, and Simmons, right? Very dynamic, very fast, right? Well, it's really odd that those 3 guys took half the year to figure it out. And you start asking yourself, is it the players or is it the system? Right? Like, because the system didn't work.
Well, don't forget, Craig, he came over mid-season. He's changing gears with scheme and language with the defense. It'll be interesting to see a whole offseason with OTAs, off-season program, and go into training camp right through with the Giants if that happens.
Great point. I like him too. I do want him to stay. I think Sean's point is spot on. Is like, look, and by the way, it's we're not going to talk about Barkley today, but this is my overall arching point is like, you got holes. Let's not make more holes, right? Like, I get it. Like, listen, I wish Chris Peace was here. I don't see him in the chat at all, but my man was playing Howie Rosen last week, and he nailed a bunch of stuff. Like, look, you got to give Barkley a 2-year deal with maybe a 3rd-year option, right? But he didn't make any money last year. It was a bunch of phony incentives. But like, we can't consider this team getting better if you get rid of Barkley and then have to draft a running back. We're wasting a draft pick on a running back or signing 3 free agent running backs, hoping that all 3 of them combined can equal Barkley, right? Like, you're going to take up 3 roster spots to try to get the same output as 1. So you have to figure it out. Simmons is the same way. Like, this cat can rush the passer. I wish he was a little bit more physical, but we can't afford to let him go. Like, the guy's talent. If you want this team to get better, we need to keep talent in the building. Guys were talking about Bellinger today, that he he regressed. He didn't regress. He was playing right tackle for half the year. I mean, like, you can't expect the guy to get better if he has to block 70% of the offensive snaps because the right tackle can't block. So I think we have a lot of good pieces, right? So Simmons is a guy, again, it's not like Barkley and McKinney. That's a major debate, right? We need Simmons to get more snaps. I think, Chris, you said he came over mid-season, probably, right? He had to
Mhm.
figure out what they do.
Yeah, and they didn't know how to use him, like Sean alluded to in Arizona. They were moving him around constantly. He couldn't get set in the one spot, so they didn't do him any favors over there too with changing coaches and changing their scheme.
Yeah. Well, so there is, let's just, wrap it up this way. Guys, there is Wan'Dale Robinson. There is, Bellinger. There is Belton and McFadden. There is Pinnock. There is Dexter. There is Hodgins. There is JMS. There is Andrew Thomas. Like, there are good linchpins here, right? We just need to keep adding it up. We all know quarterback is an issue, but I don't know what way that's going to go. But that shouldn't stop us from getting, Joe Alt, or it shouldn't stop us from getting from Rome from Washington, or Neighbors. If you like Neighbors is more, yards after the catch. Rome is definitely slightly more possession based, but he's actually very good in traffic, and he's actually very good on the sideline. And by the way, if you haven't watched any tape on Rome, what I was really impressed with Washington is they run center and bubble screens with the guy. So we haven't had a guy to be able to run a screen pass in 20 years since Tiki was here. So believe it or not, if you just get a chance, if you're a film junkie, turn on some Washington tape, and they run screens and bubbles with him. So, and he goes. You know what I mean? I know they don't rave about his speed, but I think he's definitely deceptively fast. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's an alpha, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, Dunze is versatile, Mark, no doubt. Anyway, there is some good pieces in the building. If you guys could spread, even if you just want to promote our show and say, hey, look, good things are coming. Look what these guys have to say. Like, because if you don't want to say it because people are going to give you crap, that's cool. Put us out there. We don't have a problem. I have no problems telling people I want to be optimistic about the pieces that are here. I understand that it's a make or break on the quarterback. I get it. But guess what? I'm not shy to tell you right now if Browning or Minshew or the quarterback, I'm not going with Chris's guy. I'm not a fan of Brissett, but I'm not sweating it. If we add on a receiver and a pass rush, guys, you don't think let me ask you, Chris, if we add on a receiver and a pass rush somewhere in this draft, you don't think we can win 7-8 games?
Who's the quarterback?
Anyone. Jones.
Okay.
Jones, Brissett, a Browning, Minshew.
Considering the Giants won 6, well, last year, I would think they're gonna win 7 or 8, and you get 9 home games this year, so and the schedule is going to be a little lighter.
I don't know, Chris. I think if Minshew, I'm saying if Minshew's the quarterback, if Browning's the quarterback, I don't think that's stopping you from winning 8 games.
I'm not as Jones fan like I was a few years ago, but let's say Jones is healthy. He will get you 8 wins. He will get you 8 wins if he's healthy. 9, 8, 9 in that range. If he's healthy, despite his deficiencies, he will get you 8 wins if you're adding that receiver and they could block for him at that tackle position, loosen up Bellinger and Waller. He'll get you 8 wins.
I hope so, because I've lost a lot of faith in what Jones could do downfield because he doesn't try to throw the ball downfield. Like it's almost like a mental block. And then the 2 guys that come in that have nothing to lose just start throwing the ball down the lot.
Well, maybe it's time for Dable and Kafka just to they got to open it up and say, screw it. Just do it, all right? Just do it. We're not going to bench it. If you throw a pick, you throw a pick. Just open it. They got to open it up. Let's go. Hey, that first drive against Dallas was awesome before that Andrew Thomas offsides. It was going great.
Here's what I'll say real quick. I think mentally, the composure in Jones is gone. That's the biggest
reason
I moved off of him last year.
I agree, Sean.
Who got sacked like 8, 9 times, 10 times in a game, still got up, still was whatever. I think Jones is done. I think he's shot. Like I think he's a David Carr right now. I think that's
right, man.
Because all the beatings he took. And
Sean, we saw that with Eli. Those last couple of years, Eli was different in the pocket. Little happy feet. He was getting his ass kicked, and you could see the difference in Eli. And Eli's a much better quarterback than Jones.
Yeah, exactly. So
Jones can't hold Eli's jock.
I'll
Right.
be shocked. I'll be shocked if they don't take a quarterback in this draft somewhere. Whether it's 6 or lower, I'll be shocked that they don't take one. The only reason that they don't, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If you want to be mad at anybody, be mad at John Mara, because he is a lot of the reasons. Yes, a lot of reasons for the success the Giants have had, but he's also a lot to do with the last 10 years of futility. And I believe he's the reason why Jones re-signed here, because Jones called him up and said, hey, and he got the deal done. So that's my feeling. If they don't take a quarterback, I'm pinning it on Mara said, no, you can't take a quarterback.
I believe he's a little heavy-handed. I do believe that. I do believe that. I think he's a lot less heavy-handed now because Shane wouldn't have come here if he was going to be undermined, right? So there is a little bit of that. I always say this though, Sean. Let's say they don't sign him, they win 2 games. Like you know what I mean? They don't have the same dynamic if they just have a new quarterback, right? Like it wouldn't have mattered, I guess, in the long run. But you know, I think regardless if Jones had gotten hurt or not, you could see what he was. Again, shell shocked, David Carr, whatever you want to call it. Confidence is gone.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that hungry, I'm standing in the pocket and I'm putting this thing on the numbers on Slayton on a skinny post 30 yards down the field. Like the mentality is not there anymore, as Chris alluded to with Eli. Once that's gone, I don't think you have the ability to buzzsaw teams anymore because your quarterback's mentality is on the back of the bus.
Yeah. On the flip side, if you're Daniel Jones getting $47 million this year, if you're him, you got to say screw it. You just got to go out because this is your career right here. He's not going to if he falls flat, he's not going to get a starting job again. He'll be a backup.
Why didn't he come out that way though? He came out like outside the Arizona game. He was literally asleep at the wheel.
Yeah,
it's a question.
Don't get me wrong. I get not getting blocks, and this pains me to say it. Okay. And I don't know if it's 25%, but 25%, I'm going to say 25% of those sacks were on him. Like, because he's already ready to go down. He's not looking, he's not looking off the first receiver. You know what I mean? He's not processing because
he doesn't see the field well. I think it's evident, right, Sean? And Craig, he doesn't see the field well. Like you don't see improvement with that.
Well, and take away his bad play, the fact that how often he's been injured, you just can't take that risk. And understandably, Shane and Daboll paint themselves in a corner because they didn't take on his 5th year. So he had a really good year in 2022. So you had to pay him. That's what the market value was going for. And then he crapped the bed this year. That's really what it was. You could see from that first moment in Dallas when he had all that pressure coming his way, he looked like lost, like he never played the position before. And then again, I was out on him come Seattle because, dude, and I think the team didn't rally around him. That's why they rallied around Tyrod and DeVito, not because they were better quarterbacks, but they were leaders. They were leading them. They kept their composure.
Well, let's wrap it with this, guys.
Yeah.
The biggest issue that I had from a game-by-game experience, or like that every week I left with this bad taste in my mouth. If somebody was kicking my ass and you were letting him kick my ass, I'd be in your face. Okay? There's no emotion. He's not holding anybody accountable. Like, he's not even mad he's getting his ass kicked. At some point, he's got to be like, yo, enough. Make the block. Do something. Like, he's getting his ass kicked. And nobody's rallying around him. He's not rallying anyone. And everyone's just defending him. Like, there has to be another element to the game where Jones is holding people accountable.
Yep.
Tom Brady held everybody accountable. This guy holds no one accountable. If I got sacked 15 times, you bet your ass that I would be going to the leader of that offense, which is Andrew Thomas, and be like, Andrew, figure this out. Talk to your guys because I won't be here in a couple of weeks if this continues.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just got to muscle up.
Yep.
And that's my issue with Jones right now. He's not muscling up after getting his ass kicked. I understand Eli wasn't that way. Jones has got to actually show the fact that he's How do I know that, Mark? I'm looking at the expression on his face. There's no emotion.
Yeah.
You can't miss the fact there's no emotion from the whistle to whistle. Am I crazy, Chris? Have you seen any emotion out of Daniel Jones?
You see it at times. I want to go back to that Minnesota game, the playoff game. You saw a lot of emotion in that game, but you don't see it play to play. When he scores a touchdown or makes a great play, you see the rah-rah in him. But maybe part of the
when things go bad,
it's hard. Craig, you don't see it in the huddle. You're not there in the locker room, but you get the feeling maybe if he's not playing well, what gives him the right to yell at his offensive line when he's missing guys and he knows he made mistakes? So maybe that's part of the problem. And maybe that's why the guys do love him, because he doesn't point fingers because he knows he's not playing well. So who's he to tell me that I'm giving up sacks and I'm doing wrong when I see him missing Slayton on post and other guys that are open? Who's he to tell me? And he doesn't. He knows that. I don't know. It's not in him.
That comes with the role of quarterback.
Yeah,
you got to do that. Like, you got to get
right.
Eli didn't.
It's not in him.
Eli didn't do it in a way where everybody knew about it, but Eli did it. You'd see in that Niners playoff game, you could tell he was not happy he was getting sacked as much as he would, but he had that fire. Like there was some emotion on his face, and he elevated his own play with all that going on. And that's, I think, to Craig's point, that's where you don't see in Jones. When things go bad, you don't see that. Even if he doesn't yell at anybody else, like, you should be pissed. If
you're right. Yeah.
Back 10 times, you should be pissed and do something about it. Like, make your play better. Like, do something. Show me something. But we got spoiled because we had Eli that had that. We had Sims that had that. Even Hostetler had it, right? Like, that's what we want. Like, I don't know.
Sometimes I think, Sean, you're just looking for anything, a heartbeat, right? You're looking at signs of life. And I'm not talking about, Chris, like behind the scenes or something like that, but like there's just a point, right? Where you're losing and you're getting your ass kicked, and you got to be like this. Hey, this ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, like, you don't see, he's just getting pummeled.
I know what you mean. No, we've seen it. Like, all right, show a little motion here, but yeah, it's just his makeup.
Mark just made a statement that I want to address real quick, because I think this is the problem with the team. Like, and Mark, it's a good point. And I say this with all respect in the world. Of course, his teammates are going to talk good about Jones. They're not in a way that they're ever going to say anything bad about him. But the problem is, in my opinion, this team is more worried about how they feel rather than how they play. They should be mad that they don't play well. They should be doing these things. They shouldn't be worried about saying the right things or all of that. Like, that's my opinion. They're just more worried about feeling good, and they want it easy. And call it, like you said, to call a spade, Craig, they're soft. And that's the problem with this team. In my opinion, they're way too soft. We need a lot more dogs on this team, a lot more dogs. We need gritty. We need not soft players. That's what we're lacking.
And that starts with the offensive line. That's what these guys need at those guard positions. They need some dogs at the guard spots, and let's get Neil, on track here with Priscilla.
I'll take, you know why I love that statement, and I'll take it a step further. No competition. That's the other thing. So you know why they're soft? Because they're given the spots. You start. And the guys they bring in to compete, Azudu and Shane Lemieux, they're hurt by training camp. There is no competition.
And McKeithen, how terrible. Azudu, McKeithen, and Lemieux, terrible.
Yep. So Chris, you want the dogs in the offensive line. We got to stop handing out positions. We got to go in there going, it's JMS. You're a second round pick. You were great. I'm bringing in a center to compete with you. And if you can't, you have to win the job.
Well, they did. They had Hassenauer who got hurt, but and it's tough to do that when you're picking guys off practice squads that come in and then they're starting. So yeah, you're absolutely right. They need to upgrade, in the offseason with those guard spots and the offensive line.
I mean, you just need competition. You know what I mean? You can't hand out spots. This team has been handing out spots for years.
Yep, because they haven't on the roster to have competition. So you're right. You got to get it.
You got to ask yourself. Phillips gets cut so Neil can start. Phillips gets cut. He goes to the Eagles. He learns how to play. We bring him back, and you're like, holy cow, what happened?
Like Bobby Johnson, in good consciousness, how does he go to Dable and say, yeah, Zudo will be fine at right tackle?
I think that was right. That was the end of the Johnson era right there when Phillips came back and he was a better. Yeah, they cut him, right? Like, come on, right?
And Matt Pert makes the team at the right tackle.
I think we're going to get that grittiness because Chris, you may know this too, but Scarnecchia was that gritty type of coach. He had those gritty linemen, and Brasillo,
Yes.
he coached under Scarnecchia, so I think we'll get that grittiness back. We didn't
so,
have.
man.
We didn't have.
I can't go one more training camp with no fights, no competition. Dude, they used to rip each other's helmets off. They'd be like, "Oh, this guy was fighting this guy." Now, like you said, everything's about being soft, worrying about somebody's feelings. There's no competition at any. When is the last time you have heard about a in-camp competition at a spot? I swear to you, I cannot remember the last time anyone had to compete for a spot.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you're right. maybe linebacker this past offseason, right? Like
no
linebacker.
No, because they got it was McFadden
And Beavers got injured. It was going to be McFadden and Beavers, but Beavers got injured. That was going to be the competition.
Maybe, but he got hurt. It never happened because Jalen Smith was the other linebacker with McFadden. They got rid of him. Okereke stepped into that spot. Like there really wasn't. Now we got to give McFadden. Yes, he's friends of the show. He's real good to us, but he stepped into that role and he produced. Everyone else on that field was given a spot. Jackson got a spot. Tay Banks got a spot.
Pinnock had to win his spot. Pinnock over.
You know what? That's a good point. There might have been a little safety competition there. Yeah. Most of these guys overall were given spots. If you don't have competition, I don't expect how you have any dog mentality because there's no competition.
Even Barkley, there's no competition for him.
No. In fact, we'll wrap this up because we're going way too long. Mm-hmm. You guys have heard me, 5 of 7 playoff teams have a starting fullback.
Yes.
5 of 7 teams, have a fullback. The 49ers use their fullback as like a tight end, not the other way around. Not a tight end as a fullback, as an H-back.
H-back, yeah.
The fullback, the literal fullback goes out in pass patterns like a tight end does. Mm-hmm. The Giants, if they want to prolong Barkley and get some more life out of him and get him free, bring in a legit fullback.
And you know what? Yeah. You could find one. You don't have to draft one. These guys are available day after the draft. They found Henry Hanoski day after the draft.
UDFA, baby, all day long. Yes. So anyway, guys, nygiantsrush.com. Plenty of content up there. The store's up there if you want to invest in some cool swag that we make, or you want something new. Next year, of course, it's every 2 years we design a new Rush logo, so there'll be new stuff coming. Thanks to Spartan Mike, we have just the Rush logo stuff. It's at the store. Interviews, working on it. Please, I beg you, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us out. Check us out on Instagram, which is NYGiants_Rush. This will be up tomorrow. If you're an audio cat or your friends are, let them know. Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Pods. It's all up there. Download it, share it, favorite. Follow all my guys here. I got a really, really kick-ass team. So glad that Shawnee's part of it now. And, hey, we appreciate all you guys do. And Tuto, I'm looking for a sponsor, Tuto. We don't have one right now. So you don't hear me talking about any of them right now, do you? So, yes, love to have a sponsor. Me and Chris are putting some plans together there to work on some folks. And go see Spartan Mike at the draft. Don't forget that. He will be in Detroit. And we're going to have some fun with that. So, all right, guys, we went way too late, way too long. But we definitely had some fun. And you're going to see more of this trio because we do have Rush Hour with the draft show with Truth and Spartan. Make sure you check those guys out. Bang. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.